Hello Year 7. Did you enjoy describing the mysterious island last lesson? Today it's lesson 6 of Desert Island School. It's Mrs. Bart taking you through today's lesson, which is all about how to make a persuasive speech. Here's what you'll need for today's lesson: your workbook, a writing pen, the knowledge organiser that's in your workbook, and what would really help as well is the dictionary and thesaurus. We're also going to ask you to turn off the notifications on your smartphone, or better still, turn off your phone and put it in another room so that you can really concentrate on the learning this lesson. Here's today's do now. List as many persuasive techniques that you know. Press pause when you're ready to do that, and unpause when you're ready to move on. Today's learning objective are to learn persuasive techniques and then to use those techniques to write an effective persuasive speech. Now for the new knowledge part, and remember this part of the lesson is when you need to concentrate and focus. We'd like you to learn an acronym called A Forest. An acronym is when each letter of a word stands for something else. There are 7 letters in the word A Forest, and each of those stand for a persuasive technique that you could use in your persuasive writing. A stands for alliteration. That's repeating a sound in your speech which could give your points more impact. Facts. They make what you're saying sound more believable. An opinion can persuade the reader to agree with your viewpoint. Repetition is when you keep saying a certain word or a phrase to help reinforce a point you want to make. Emotive language. We studied this a few lessons ago. Remember, it's not just language that's to do with emotion. It's language that's designed to get your audience to feel emotion. A statistic, like a fact, will give your speech more authority and make it seem more convincing. Triplets. These are used to stay in the audience's mind because they're more catchy when you mention 3 items together. What is your shelter going to be? Last lesson, you described your mysterious island and mapped it out in your imagination. Here are some things you need to think about for activity 2. What is your shelter going to be made of? Where is your shelter? And why would it be a good shelter? Here's an example of some answers to this question. What is my shelter made of? My shelter is a cave. Where is it? It's near a waterfall. Why is it a good shelter? It's good because it shelters you from the wind and rain. You are near a water source, and it is hidden by trees, so it's quite difficult to find. A bit like a camouflage. Press pause and complete activity 2, where you have to think hard about your shelter. Unpause when you're ready to move on. Some more new knowledge for you now, Year 7, and this time it's on speech writing. So listen very carefully again. When writing a speech, you need to consider who your audience is. In this case, it will be your class. You need to make sure you write in the correct register. Decide whether informal or formal is more appropriate on this occasion. Your speech needs to be organised into paragraphs. Make sure that you've used persuasive techniques throughout. Only use them for effect, so do not put a persuasive technique in every sentence. Make sure you end your speech in a way that will leave an impact on your audience. Maybe a fact, or maybe a rhetorical question. For the purpose of this speech, facts and statistics can be made up. Just make sure that they sound believable. It's time to work on activity 3 in your workbooks. Remember to use a forest. There are some sentence starters that you could use if you're stuck. And there are some examples of how to use certain persuasive techniques. Look at the example of triplets here. My shelter is safe, warm and spacious. And here's an example of fact or expert opinion. Scientists have stated that waterfalls are an excellent source of drinking water, and the cave is right next to one. I hope you enjoy writing your persuasive speeches. We're going to enjoy reading them. I wonder which shelter your teacher is going to choose.